Hey everybody, DJ Lou here, and up next on this week's Weekly Roundup, we're going to talk a few pop rocks, we're going to talk about CDs and collecting, doing some ripping as well, possibly moving the studio upstairs, and the woes of managing websites. Let's talk about this.
Monday, Tuesday,
On Wednesday,
Thursday, Friday night,
Saturday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday.
All right, everybody, before we start the video, please navigate down, hit that subscribe button, make sure you ding that notification bell as well. Also, make sure to like the video, and please, if you want to support the channel, head over to my Patreon page and subscribe. This is an interesting post NAMM week. If you haven't seen what came out with NAMM, first check out my videos. But there's, of course, a whole bunch of other things that had come out as well that I didn't touch on. But there's a lot of very interesting products that have come out. And I really can't wait to hopefully get my hands to test on some things. But now that things of that's kind of settled and kind of gear envy is kind of weighing down a little bit, it's time to kind of talk about just some of the things that are kind of going on for me. And one of the things that I have going on is I'm still collecting pop rocks, and it's an addictive thing to begin with. And I actually have kind of 3 series of pop rocks actually out of frame here, and we're going to actually talk about these in a second. I've got my music pop rocks, and actually behind I have my Die Hard pop rocks, the entire collection of that. And I started on a couple Star Wars as well. I'm actually starting to run out of space displaying this because this actually takes up quite a bit of space inside my my vinyl collection. These are 15 by 15 cubes. Unfortunately, you can't even find these cubes anymore. The company has apparently gone out of business, and I really think of a possible redesign in that. But I'm going to go over these really quick. We have everything from 2 different Prince releases. We have Sting, we have Rick James, we have Elton John, we have Biggie. I've got the entire Queen collection, including 3 Freddie Mercurys and, of course, John Deacon, Roger Taylor, and Brian May. Also, I have picked up 2 Johnny Cashes, and thanks to FYE closing down here, I picked up a Debbie Harry at a nice price. And that just kind of goes into my idea of I really do like collecting to begin with. I actually used to collect ages ago. I used to really have a much larger vinyl collection than what I have right now that had gotten stolen. So this is actually all newer stuff that I've picked up since like about the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And not only do, of course, collect 12s and 45s, I also collect CDs. I still had a bunch of CDs from the past, but also I've added probably a good 400 CDs in the past few months. And just recently, in this past week, I picked up not only 1 lot, but 2 lots of music. Everything from Rick Ross to Alicia Keys, Sam and Dave, a whole bunch of others. And these are all ones I actually did not have in my collection. A lot of these things I have, digital downloads for. I've downloaded a number of albums and whatnot over the years. But I still actually really enjoy the album experience. So I'll grab these from things like eBay, sometimes Discogs as well. But I usually try to find eBay lots because, these you can actually pick up sometimes $1 or less per CD. And then I'll go ahead and rip them. And if you don't know how I rip my CDs and all that, make sure check out this video right here. This is actually an entire video of how I started re-ripping my entire collection in lossless, and then also found the duplicates that I was using from previous rips and replacing them with my new lossless rips. Now, with all this additional collecting and everything, I'm actually starting to run into an issue of displaying and organizing my music. Now, behind this camera is my current CD collection, and I had to stack things in rows so I can't easily access a lot of this stuff. On top of that, I still have around 1,200, 1,500 albums downstairs that I haven't even begun to catalog. Part of it is because I just don't even have the room in my display to do it. With that issue of not having these cubes that are available anymore, now I'm kind of really stuck on how do I organize this? How do I display it really properly and all that? With all this collecting and everything, I've started to run into an issue of where do I put everything? And I actually really have a serious issue now of storage as a whole. Downstairs, I have 1,200 to 1,500 records that still aren't cataloged yet. Behind this camera, I have my CD collection, and now I'm having to put things in rows just to be able to fit it in there, and I'm starting to get close to running out of space there as well. Even this cube space, which again, these cubes are no longer available, I just don't have the type of shelf capacity to put everything that I want. So I've come to this issue of, do I start to kind of pare things down, or do I move my entire studio upstairs into the attic? Now, the attic is definitely a much more copious and inviting space for something like filming. There's walls on the side, so it gives me places where I can put stuff. Just so happens in here, behind this collection is a big picture window. On this side is a big opening for my living room. So there isn't a whole lot of space in here. And of course, there's a window right behind me right here. So there's not a lot of space to put things. So having things upstairs would definitely be beneficial from just a space perspective. But there's a lack of heat and AC up there, so I would have to put AC in the window during the summer times because, of course, it does get warm. And even with the insulation and everything that's already there, it does get cool without regular heating up there. So I would have to have some kind of portable heater at a minimum. These are the things I've actually been contemplating for a while. I actually just kind of cleared out the majority of this attic just 2 weeks ago, with the potential of planning something like this. But it's a lot of effort to move all this plus all the other records downstairs, my CDs. I had build some kind of shelving to kind of accommodate it all. I'd actually put probably a new desk up there as well. So it's a big effort if I do go that route. Now, my tale of website woes, I started looking at the potential of redesigning Paris Creative. I've had this general design for a while, and I'm actually in the middle of consolidating some areas like reviews. And with my particular setup of using SiteGround as my host, WordPress as my main engine, and Divi as my theme, Divi has come out with the capability of this more general overarching theme builder that they have in there now. So it actually allow me to make more simple changes globally if I make some changes to my design. So now when I was kind of scouring through things and I wanted to do a little bit of cleanup, just starting kind of prep for something like this, I was looking at my SiteGround installation, and I carried over a couple really old website templates that I had in the past. And I was like, okay, I need to get rid of this. So I deleted these. They looked like they had no relationship whatsoever to my current site, so I believed. One of them still ended up being the primary database. Apparently, in the automation of switching WordPress sites and all that, I thought I created a fresh database for the current site. That happened to not be the case. It actually was still tied into one of these installations. I delete it, database gone. No. Now, luckily I have two things. Number one, SiteGround is an awesome service. They consistently back up their stuff. And if you do make a critical mistake that even somebody with IT experience, you'd think I would have thought a little bit more about it before I hit delete, but I thought I was pretty safe. But that just goes to show that everybody with any skill level, any knowledge of IT or whatnot, can still make mistakes. So number one, I was able to come off their backup. And number two, because I use a caching service in between, I use a service called Security, which is constantly monitoring my site and make sure that there's no malware or anything on that. But they also act as a cache. So if something really happens on my site, the cache will actually bring up. So during this entire time where I was down, which was a good about 45 minutes, the cache site was coming up. So there was no interruption for people hitting my site. But that just goes to show that all your best laid plans, everything that you think you know about something is not necessarily 100%. And luckily for me, between the restorative services of SiteGround, plus of course having cache, there was just no interruption for people other than me just sweating major, hoping that things would be able to tie in and get things back up pretty quickly. Now, as we come closer to my 2020 wedding season, I've been debating what am I going to be rolling with for the season now. I've been using for quite a while now my combination of my Newmark NS7 III and my folding stand. It's a great setup, but I sometimes just want something a little bit different. I've had my Rain 12s for a while and I haven't really rolled with them because they just add a lot of time on setup. And as I've mentioned in the past, I am thinking about some type of rolling cart like a Toadmatic or something else. So I'm getting closer to this deadline of, do I order a Toadmatic? Do I build my own? So this way I have enough time to build it and all. And it's a significant investment. And not only am I thinking about this rolling rig, but I'm also thinking about where my digital mixers and my mics reside to have something rolling for that as well. So I've just been kind of contemplating what to do with that. And of course, if I go this route, I really should think about having a new vehicle as well. So ultimately, it just comes down to, are these wise investments for me to make in 2020? Well, I'm going to rip the rest of these CDs, get kind of back to everything for the week. I hope you enjoyed this series. If so, make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button below, head over to my Patreon page and subscribe. Naturally, if you want to see things like Q&A or whatnot, hit the comments below. Tell me what you want to know, and I'll see you next week.